I'm Breathnach, the White Wolf. This is the wrong, no, that's the wrong channel. Sorry, that was a gaming channel there for a second. I'm using the same setup for that, so that's what that is. I am Breathnach, author of the Eiru Saga series, and today I'm going to be reading to you the first chapter of Were Inc Uncaged. Now this is from the special edition, so there's going to be some things in this that are not in the vanilla edition. I'm sorry for doing that, but there it is. Disclaimer too before I start, you may have already noticed this. My voice is not really the best right now. Sang way too loud, way too often last night, so trying to reach the same notes as some of the girls in Little Mix and some of the guys in One Direction, don't judge me. I couldn't quite do it, so that's what's happened to the whole vocals today. Nevertheless, let's get stuck in here, shall we? Can't find. We're going to skip past the introduction because it gives things away. Gives things away. Not that I'm reading the first chapter, it doesn't matter. That's stupid of me. Chapter 1, Welcome to Eiru. From under... Wait, wow, what accent was that? Doesn't matter, keep going. From under the rough waves of the Emerald Bay swam a small team of special operatives from the medical giant Were Inc. Dressed in stealthy black wetsuits and diving masks, this professional search and rescue team was sent on a covert rescue mission led by the nightmarish Captain S.K. Poddox, a man who saw through the mask of welcoming smiles and into the depths of depravity that ran rampant throughout Eiru. From its smallest village to its biggest city, Captain Poddox, even with his immense experience, he would not be prepared for what he and his team would encounter on this visit to Eiru. My cheeks are getting puffy. Not part of the book, just when I'm looking down I can see it. The team slithered on their stomachs out of the ocean like snakes onto the cold, wet grass, hidden from view by a small hilltop. With a long trek ahead of them, they would follow their captain's lead. They would need to stick to the wooded areas to avoid being seen and inadvertently causing any mishaps. Getting to myself now. Getting involved in this myself. Their black second skin thermal uniforms, tactical armor plated vests and full facial covering masks with right eye covering devices called visualizers made them look every bit the outstanding Black Ops team they were. Should they fail to follow their captain's lead, they would surely fall victim to the fabled fairy tale of Eiru's majestic landscape. If you're looking to find out more about the lore, about the technology and like that equipment, it's on my website, which should be linked in the description below. The rush of wind was great enough to take away sound that would alert them to danger. The rain was so heavy it obstructed their vision, forcing them to take shelter in a nearby cave that was closed to the outside by dense undergrowth. Read the line you're on, Marcus. They cut and pulled at the undergrowth until they could stop reading ahead. They cut and pulled at the undergrowth until they could enter the cave, where they'd stay until it was safe to proceed any further. Once inside, they removed their masks and quickly sat around a small fire their captain had built, and began to eat some of what they had in their packs. I'm reading 5 lines ahead of myself, I'm sorry. The shadows cast on the walls seemed to tell a more sinister tale than their owners. I should get glasses. They talked to each other openly, as if they were in a nightclub or a pub during happy hour. Some days you wish it was. Corporal Knightley, the team's medical officer. I apologise. I don't have COVID, don't worry, I don't have COVID. I'll start again. Corporal Marie Knightley, the team's medical officer, peeked out through her highlighted brown hair with hazel and... What? Oh! Peeked out through her highlighted brown hair, with her hazel and green dual-coloured eyes, her voice so soft it could have lulled even the most savage of beasts. I won't do the voice. I won't do the voice. I just want to get this over with as soon as possible. I know the feeling. I have a tour coming up next month, she said, smiling. Sergeant Devine chuckled, then blurted out rather quickly, I never got those tickets you promised me, by the way, while tying a braid in her strawberry blonde, thick curly hair. Her deep blue eyes glistened in the campfire. Marie grinned and raised one eyebrow, then laughed, telling Sheena, Sergeant Sheena Devine, which I misread, you would have had him if you didn't go running off with Kevin to Hawaii. They both had a little laugh at one another before they realised their captain wasn't joining in as he usually would. Captain, what's wrong with you? Well, Captain, what's going through your head? Asked Sergeant Devine. Captain Queepoddocks fixed his eyes to the flickering flames of the small fire. His shaven head reflected the waving flames, like they were burning thoughts circling through his head. It seemed he was about to pull the answers from the embers. I was stationed here once before. I would have given everything I own to end this mission here and now. He held his Colt Python revolver firmly and looked at it rather longingly. If only he had the courage. If only I had the courage. And with that, he brought their conversation to an abrupt end. With several moments of uncomfortable silence, the awkwardness was broken by a sharp and distant scream that shook the collective hearts of the team. It begins, sighed Captain Queepoddocks. The scream rang in their ears, carried upon the air with a wave of unrelenting pain without an apparent destination. The only thing the team knew was the scream sounded like a woman in dire need of help. What in the hell? Sergeant Devine peeked out of the cave, pushing an earbud button in her visualizer a few times, switching between functions of the device, stopping at night vision function. She clearly scanned the darkness. Her keen eyes could see nothing. Move out, ordered the captain, his focus locked towards the town, trying to map the quickest way to the facility that their mission required them to enter. They put their masks on and gathered at the cave's entrance. All right, stay alert. Whatever happens, no one plays the hero, understood? Asked Captain Queepoddocks. They nodded their heads in agreement, then followed the captain racing across the marshland, struggling to remain silent. The rain had ceased. That's wrong. The rain had eased off. Oh, I'm missing words now. The rain hadn't eased off at all, and the wind only grew fiercer. They had their rifles across their chests, using their visualizers to detect where their teammates were and what their current medical status was. Sergeant Devine was at the rear of the group. She could see Corporal Knightley, who was 4 feet ahead of her to her left, good guess, in good health, but her blood pressure was slightly higher than normal, while her captain was 8 feet ahead of her, also in good health, directly ahead of her, was also in good health. His blood pressure was highly elevated. It wasn't long before they stumbled across a cottage, weather-beaten, white crumbling and worn cottage that remained only partly intact. Sections of the front east walls had fallen to the ground, no doubt caused by being exposed to the elements over the years. The screaming had stopped abruptly, but they still needed to find the poor woman. They couldn't just abandon her. She needed help, and they weren't just going to walk away. Captain Queepoddocks, forget my own name, I wrote this book. Captain Queepoddocks hunkered down behind the large tree, looking to Sergeant Devine, gesturing to her to scout ahead. While I guess I'm not sure what this means. While he and Captain Knightley moved into position, she nodded her head and slinked away without a trace. Corporal Knightley would creep. Sounds so bad. Corporal Knightley would creep around the back of the cottage, while the captain crouched down and shuffled his way towards the front. Sergeant Devine positioned herself on a high rise above the team, above the team and the cottage, high enough to see as much of the inside as she could, while remaining hidden. Try to say that with an Irish accent. I just couldn't do it. Hidden in a sizable tuft of grass in the pouring rain. She swiftly switched. Again, I shouldn't write these words if I can't say them. She swiftly switched her rifle to single shot mode, activated a thermal scanner on her visualizer, 2 pushes, then carefully scanned what she could see of the cottage, finding a faint heat signature in the back room of the cottage. She pressed her earbud long and held, opening a communication link. You see, I think of the science of this stuff. To her team and announced, faint signature in back, no sign of hostiles, I'm locked onto your position. Corporal Knightley replied in position. She switched her rifle also to single shot and readied herself. Affirmative, Sergeant. Fix your eyes on me. Corporal, on my mark, we gain entrance. Corporal Captain Queepoddocks ordered as he stood into the cottage, choosing his steps rather cautiously. He made not a sound, not even as much of a squeak, as he followed his rifle's sights. When entering the hallway, his eyes looked over every inch of the worn stone walls, coated in a horrific wallpaper that seemed to have a pattern of black birds pecking at skulls on beds of thorns. He walked deeper into the cottage that suddenly got darker and darker. He was forced to activate the light on his rifle, and he stopped and dropped to one knee, asking, Sergeant, do you have eyes on me? With a slight pause, Sergeant Devine answered, I got you, crystal clear, I'm good to go. He nodded and raised his fist with a thumbs up. Then remained crouched and entered the kitchen with a light. Entered the kitchen with the light on his rifle, lighting only what he could look at. I'm sorry, but in my head, I'm imagining a 6'4" hulky American doing a duck walk into a kitchen with a rifle. Oh, that's going to be funny to watch. He stood in the doorway, slowly sweeping his flashlight from left to right. He could see in front of him there was a dinner table set for a meal, but no food could be seen. The screaming started again. This time it was deafening. It was like it was like they were standing right next to him, right next to the poor woman. I'm also editing this as I go along too, apparently. Captain Queepoddocks decided stealth was no longer a viable option. Corporal, on me, head to the back room now, he ordered as he left the kitchen, aiming his rifle down the hallway, filling his path with bright UV light. He took a number of firm steps, almost reaching the end of the hallway, when he heard Corporal Knightley burst in the back door of the cottage. The lights of the rifles met quickly, then they lowered their weapons slightly, just enough to be able to see each other's faces. Lost my place. They stood in a rather large bedroom with clearly unstable furniture. A table stood at the foot of the bed. A worn vanity table rested at the head of the bed, and with a dull duck egg colour of paint on the walls. A gaping hole was in the floor, many feet from the bed. Perhaps most importantly, there was a woman lying face down on the bed, half naked and as pale as the moonlight. Sergeant, are you seeing this? He tried to shout over the screaming. I can see only you and Marie. The only other heat signature is underneath you, she replied with her rifle fixed on her captain. He sighed and approached the bed. Corporal Knightley stood back with her rifle at the ready. He approached the woman to feel her pulse. Keeping his left hand on his weapon, he lowered his rifle to his side. Reaching out with his right hand, that one, to feel her pulse, but there was no pulse. He sighed heavily, looked back to Corporal Knightley, shaking his head. When he took his hand away from the woman, her eyes opened quickly and her head spun to face him. Her stare was intense. Captain Queepoddocks was shocked into momentary uncertainty. He didn't know what to do. The woman suddenly seemed to come to life, springing from the bed, knocking Captain Queepoddocks back onto the table at the end of her bed. Here, he crashed through the table, breaking the legs into dangerous chunks. He tried to get back to his feet when the woman shoved Corporal Knightley into the vanity table, then leapt onto Captain Queepoddocks, pushing him back down onto one of the broken legs. The table ran straight through his shoulder and into the woman's breast, penetrating her heart. Corporal Knightley and Captain Queepoddocks watched as the woman let out a darting screech and began to harden and crumble like embers of a dying fire. The ash coated both Captain Queepoddocks and a large section of the bedroom floor. "Hang in there, Captain," Corporal Knightley ordered, as she got her field medic kit from her backpack. "Sergeant, the captain's been wounded badly. We need to secure the location until I can move him. Do you copy?" Corporal Knightley asked over the communication link. I'm sorry now, folks. I just noticed that. I apologise for my appearance. "Copy. Moving in. On your 6, replied Sergeant Devine, leaving her raised position and entering the cottage as quickly as she could. Corporal Knightley wouldn't be able to apply a permanent fix to her captain, but it would be enough to tie him over until she had time to examine the wound and treat him accordingly. I switched to CC, which is closed camera. Viewer, I saw the end of the attack. Was that a goddamn vampire? Sergeant Devine bellowed, coinciding with the scream dying down to nothing. Captain Queepoddocks struggled to stand firmly on his own, took as deep a breath as he could, then pulled the chunk through his shoulder, slamming it to the ground and falling to the bed in a seated position. I wouldn't mind that too, but just ground, and it's 6 foot down, so I'm not doing that. Allowing Corporal Knightley to complete her patch up. Get used to it. You'll be seeing a lot more of that strange crap before we're done here, replied Captain Queepoddocks, with hate dripping from each word he spoke. Sergeant, secure the cottage. We're going to be here for a while. Corporal, watch that hole. We don't know what's down there. I want no more surprises, he ordered. I'm going to give you something for the pain. Hold still, the Corporal explained, giving our captain an injection, and within moments he was asleep and resting soundly. I probably shouldn't actually end it there, but I'm starting to get into this. I'm starting to get really into this. I keep it going a little longer. Will he be okay? Asked Sergeant Devine. He's lost a lot of blood, but he'll pull through. He just needs to rest a while. The sedative should have him asleep for an hour, maybe less, Corporal Knightley explained, helping our captain to lay down on the bed. I'll get myself out of sight and secure the cottage, Sergeant Devine told Corporal, turning her visualizer back to thermal vision setting, and then left the cottage through the back door. It was less than an hour before Captain Queepoddocks woke with a groan and a haircut. How long have I been out? He asked. unsure if it was Corporal Knightley or Sergeant Devine that was watching over him. Roughly 37 minutes, Sergeant Devine is aloft. The screaming has been continuing on and off, Corporal Knightley explained, bringing him up to date what happened while he slept. He lifted himself up, taking his rifle from the bed. Stand ready, I'll be back in 5. Hear that? He instructed, then jumped into the hole. He didn't allow Corporal Knightley time to agree or disagree. Damn it, Sergeant, the captain's on his feet. Get ready. Get ready to move, Corporal Knightley announced, but Sergeant Devine didn't respond. Corporal Knightley made her way to the front of the cottage, where she could see Sergeant Devine. Where she could see Sergeant Devine. Instead, she saw a small group of well-dressed, Victorian-style clothing, men dirging through the marshlands. One of them was dragging a large burlap sack behind him. Underneath the cottage lay a well-walked tunnel, lit by only a single dull oil lamp. At the end of that tunnel, Captain Queep Pollux could see the shape of red hangings. Drapery. Lost my place, but he couldn't see anyone. He lifted his rifle, ready for combat, as he crisscrossed his steps, reaching the end of the tunnel. As he was about to take his first step out of the tunnel into the room, a shadow whizzed by the end of the tunnel. He was about to take his first step out of the tunnel and into the room. I'm going back on myself. A shadow whizzed by the end. It was quick, but he could just about see whatever it was cast a shadow large enough and imposing enough, so much so that he thought he needed something larger than his assault rifle to deal with it. He paused and stood at the end of the tunnel for a few moments, taking a deep breath, trying to lower his heart rate and ready himself. He steadied his aim, then sharply stood out, looking left and then right. But he saw nothing. He could see nothing. He could see nothing that could have cast a shadow. He did see, however, a woman. That's not even a word. He could see a woman, however. That's what it was. Shackled to the wall. Shackled in old iron chains. Her head hung down and her body had fell forward, putting strain on her arms, and wrists, causing the shackles to dig deeper into her muscle and skin. With his experience above ground, he wasn't willing to take any chances. He would be cautious while approaching the woman. The woman, not the women's. He slowly got closer with his rifle aimed at her head. He quickly examined her body and saw her neck has purple bruises scattered between teeth marks, with her arms riddled with shallow and deep lacerations. Her body seemed to be covered with Were Inc body armour. Her hair was long and dirty, but he could see it was once golden blonde. He cautiously poked her head with the barrel of his rifle. That was my cautious. That was just wake up. Kind of like, yeah. That's kind of assault, isn't it? Lad, get offline or stay away. Chance mixture. Here we go. Cautious poked her head about his rifle, but she didn't move. He dropped to one knee and used his rifle to lift her head up. By placing the barrel underneath her chin. Her eyes, although barely open, were beautiful. Oh, wow. This is generally bringing back memories here now. Were a beautiful blue and grey mixture. Her face was beaten and covered in bloodstains, both fresh and old. She tried to speak. She was too weak. Her words couldn't be heard. She could only mime, "Help me." Captain Queepoddocks lowered his rifle and pressed his visualizer announcing, "Corporal, I found the woman. She's in bad shape." He struggled to undo her shackles. In spite of their rusty appearance, they were surprisingly strong. "Damn it, miss, can you hear me? I'm going to get you out of here, okay?" He assured her, lifting his rifle, firing at the bolts in the walls. They were no match for his 5.55mm rounds. "Okay, let us get you back above ground," he said, helping her walk with his arm around her waist and her arm thrown over his shoulder. When they faced the tunnel, their salvation, it was being obscured by the very beast that must have cast a shadow. It was a large black and red creature that seemed to be created out of Tornacatum. Large portions of its body were moving like living oil. "Right, the past lives on," Captain Queepoddocks sighed out loud. Back above ground, Corporal Knightley was having trouble communicating with Sergeant Devine and Captain Queepoddocks. She would have to wait for her captain to emerge from the hole while avoiding the menacing group that were quickly approaching the cottage. She hastily and carefully rolled a suppressor onto the barrel of her rifle, switching the rifle to a semi-automatic function, and hunkered herself down in the doorway of the back room. The men entered the cottage, pausing in the hallway and sniffing the air. "Female," one man announced in a guttural voice. "Release the beast," declared another man. With a wicked smirk, the man hauling the bag stood forward, untying the top of the sack. "Feed my pet," he instructed, letting a snarling, impish, demonic thrall, a deranged human man, out of the sack to hunt the female they had scented. "Help me," Captain Queepoddocks ordered, trying to get himself out of the hole and help the woman that was also... I read that wrong. "Help me," Captain Queepoddocks ordered, trying to get himself out of the hole and help the woman that was with him also. Corporal Knightley rushed to both their aids. "Sir, we have hostiles in the building," she explained, helping the woman out of the hole. "On your six," the captain ordered. As the woman climbed out of the hole, Corporal Knightley didn't have time to act. The woman she helped from the hole reached for the corporal's sidearm, a 45 caliber MK23 SOCOM pistol, and shot the deranged man directly between the eyes. Without hesitation, "Wow!" Corporal Knightley exclaimed. "Wow!" Corporal Knightley exclaimed as she quickly helped Captain Queepoddocks out of the hole. "Get them!" a man shouted, followed by gunshots. "Go!" the captain shouted, throwing his attention to the back door of the cottage. "Sergeant, get your ass over here!" he bellowed over the communication link as they raced towards the stone bridge that led into a rather small village. It looked like it had been built by hand more than 100 years ago. They raced into the first building they came across, a tavern, a gloomy building with rustic red bricks that seemed even more feeble in the pouring rain. The sign that hung outside proudly had the tavern's name on it, Ill Omen. It was boldly presented with a sickly ogre coughing. Once inside, Corporal Knightley slammed the door shut while Sergeant Devine ducked down at one of the windows, looking out to see if they had been pursued. Right guys, I'm going to leave it there at that, because from there on in it gets even better. But guys, as it is now, it's on sale on amazon.com.uk, all the dots. If you're in Ireland, it's in the Wexford Book Centre, and later on this year, guys, Austin Macaulay will be publishing this worldwide, allowing, of course, that COVID doesn't get worse than it already is. So for that, guys, I want to say thank you for joining me today. If you'd like, or actually if you would be interested in hearing a full read through of this, when I have, like, you know, proper time to not rush it, and actually my voice isn't doing what it's doing right now, I would love to actually read more of this and even more of, yeah, why not? Why not? I might even get on to the second book in the saga series, Paramore Unbound. So if you're interested, guys, let me know, and I'll see you guys next time. As always, I'm Breathnach, and thank you for joining me today, guys.